Here, we discuss life adventures, challenges, and the power of personal branding. I'm your host, Giulia Giuliati. Welcome. I hear this all the time. I want to write a book, it's in my head. But actually make it happen in 7?
Well, I have a lot of voices in my head. That's first and foremost. There's a lot going on up there. Getting it out. But no, it happened because of a patient. I have to give him credit first and foremost. He inspired this. I started as a nurse. I started as a martial artist. Let's get the whole origin Kryptonian story together first. At first, I was a professional martial artist, and I competed. Because my father said that I could only go to New Orleans with my girlfriend Jen is if you get a yellow belt in Taekwondo. And he knew the gentleman who taught at Gold's Gym because my brother had tried and failed. So he thought, well, if Billy can't do it, there's no way you're doing it. I walked in wearing low-slung sweatpants, rolled down, belly button sticking out, full face of makeup, chewing gum no less, and walked in front of all the black belts, hand on the hip, and stood at the end of the senior line, chewing gum, like every little kid would. I was 18 years old, and I was like, I'm here to learn karate. And Mr. McLaughlin walked in, and he was like, well, you need to go stand down there. And I saw 2 kids, and I was like, no, I'm an adult. And he's like, well, the white belts are down there, and once again, popping gum. And he's like, so here's the deal. He's like, you're gonna go wipe all that makeup off your face, get a shirt that fits, and then come back. Understood? And I went, yes. And then he goes, sir. I was like, sir. Still looking. He goes, and this is not karate, it's Taekwondo. Okay. And I stood up, and he's like, and I'm like, sensei, no, that is Japanese. He's like, sabanim, and I'm like, okay, go. I ran out, got everything, came back, and he was like, oh, you came back. He was looking at me like, oh, damn, okay. He taught me a down block, a front kick, a stretch kick, and he's like, you're not bad. Got my yellow belt, went to New Orleans, and that started my career.
Wow.
So I started that way.
What was before?
Nothing. There was nothing.
Seriously, you didn't do any...
I did school stuff, I played softball,
so
like
just
little things. It was just, I didn't even know the fighter was there. I never realized it. I had done ballet, but I was always told it was too short, it was too fat, everything, I never thought this is what I would do. It was more because I loved Wonder Woman, and to me, martial arts was as close to being a superhero as you could get. As I was doing it, I'm like, I've seen Batgirl kick like this. Okay, Kato from the Green Hornet did this stuff. This is pretty similar, and he said I'm not that bad. Maybe I can get better. And it just kind of progressed. My first tournament, he didn't tell me I was competing. He just dropped me off at it. Just walk into this gymnasium, and there's all these people screaming and weapons and things. And he's like, so, this is your life. Have at it. And then I met who would be my Taekwondo brothers from my association, Mark Marzullo. And they came up to me, you have no idea what you're doing here? You didn't practice? I'm like, what? You're gonna fight? And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna, And they're like, I was like, oh, okay. And my ring was called, I get up, and I yell, I'm like, my name is Danielle M, I'm here representing. And my instructor's like, Academy of Korean Arts, step back and begin. And then I win. And I'm like, I get a trophy, but that started my career as martial arts. And then I retired in 2008. After I was on the US team, I won the silver medal, that was it. Transferred into nursing, because after you beat them up, you gotta patch them up. Seems fair. And then working at a Lyme disease clinic, I met this patient. And that's when it kind of evolved. He just told me a story that he was recruited by the CIA. That sparked something in me.
Interesting. So the stories are actually were in your head before, right? He just
he
infused something new, or he started?
He started it. It was nothing. I never thought I was going to be a writer. I was going to go to PA school, physician assistant school. I was already in the CASPA cycle for applying. never thought I'd be a writer. That was not, my dad will tell you, he thought I was going to be a writer because in second grade I wrote some story and I was like, I'm going to be an author. Next week I also said I was going to be Wonder Woman when I grew up, so go figure. But no, he didn't want to.
So why do you think that situation played like that? What actually happened?
He was dripping. The protocol for Lyme with this in particular doctor was very, very strict. They dripped IV every single day, 7 days a week, didn't matter if it was Christmas, does not matter. He had uprooted his life from Pennsylvania to Westchester County. He took off work, everything. So after about 1.5 years, he was just done with it. Didn't want to do it anymore. And so I said, well, if you don't, you're going to backslide. And he had made so much progress. So he was like, well, keep me in the chair, keep me entertained, tell me something, do something, I don't care, dance, whatever, just keep me here. So I said, tell me something about yourself, tell me something interesting. And it had come up. He had said, well, I was recruited by the CIA directly out of college. And I'm like, how did this not come up? It's been all this time. And he said, no.
So it was true?
That was all true.
Okay.
He really was. But he said it was for the Trends and Intentions Division, basically an analyst. And so, we made some jokes about conspiracy theories. Went down the rabbit hole, Roswell, the whole thing. And I said, well, you know where Lyme comes from. For some reason, and to this day, don't know why I said it, I went, no, the Fae. And he looked at me and goes, the what? And I'm like, fairies. They don't like how we're treating the environment. I made something up. And he went, okay. And he's like, really? And I said, but I know why you're really here. And I said, you want to know if the nurse is a Fae-human hybrid, and she's really the brains behind this operation. And you're here to capture her and bring her back to, the CIA. And he's like...
So just you just start playing to his story and...
Yeah. And it just flowed out of my mouth. And so every day that he sat down, I told him another piece of the puzzle and kept going. And he was like, you need to write this down. I'll go write it. And I went home, pulled out, I had big thick journals, and just wrote it. But as I was writing it, I'd think, oh, they're going to want to know how this came to be. And I'd write it. So I was writing all the books at once, not realizing it. And so I wrote actually the first volume altogether, but it started with what will become volume 2, which is Birth of a Succubus, his original story, Agent Graham, who is my patient, his story. I started with that, and then I'd go back and go, oh, they're going to want to know how the light Fae came to be. Okay, and I'd start with that. So I did it in what my friend C.R. Rice, who's my fellow author, says, chaos writing. Just threw it all up and started writing,
and then fill in details. Who inspired the characters?
Most of the characters are people I know. It's a little bit of everybody.
Who is that patient in your book?
He's my best friend, one of my best friends in the whole wide world. I would never have thought I would still be talking to him 10 years later, but I still do. I talk to him every day. He's one of my biggest cheerleaders, and he's just somebody that now I think back and I'm like, how did I not know you? He's just interwoven into my life, and he's Agent Graham. He really is. Everything that you read or you will come to read about him that's who he is. He's kind, complete and utter wise ass, sarcastic, but he's just a good guy who really cares about what he does, and he's cheering me on from the sidelines all the time. The problem is he's a Baltimore Ravens fan, and I'm a New York Giants fan, so that doesn't really mesh. But that's okay. I forgive him for all of that. But we clicked from day one, the first day we met. And I think it's one of those things where they say you meet people for certain reasons. That was that. I got him through his Lyme, and he got me to this point.
Is there a particular character that's really you, or you put yourself in a little bit in different characters?
For volume 1, I'm probably a little bit of Aurora. I'm a little bit of Desdemona. For volume 2, I'm Morgan. I'm Nurse Morgan. For the other characters, Serena, Lady Serena in volume 1 is one of my best friends from high school, Jen. The talks that Aurora and Lady Serena have on the beach are inspired from our talks from high school. We'd sit at Fawnstock and think, we knew the world and our conversations were so deep. She is the type of person that you could be driving your car off the cliff and making every wrong decision, and she's like, "You're doing great. This is so good. Awesome." Then behind closed doors, she's like, "What the heck were you thinking?" But a united front.
That's a great friend to have.
Yeah, and you could sit there and be like, "The sky is totally purple," and she's like, "Yes, it is." And then behind, she's like, "What were you on out there? Wait, purple? Really? Really?" So that was a big deal for me, just to, kind of express that friendship.
When she read the book, she realized that that's her, and she recognized. Okay.
She knew immediately
because
she was laughing. There's a chapter called Girl Talk in Locked Out of Heaven, and it was them on the beach, and she's like, "That's fawn stock, isn't it?" She knew like right away, and I said, "Of course, that's our really deep conversations." And we were like, "Oh my God, the world's opening up," and she's like, "Yeah, we were naive back then." I was like, "Of course." So it's a little bit of everything. King Jarvok, inspired by the character Magneto in X-Men, but every brooding guy that you should stay away from. But there he is. So it's fake and real kind of at the same time. Funny thing about the Bishops is there's no religious context at all with the name the Bishops, but I had a Taekwondo, the leader of my Taekwondo association hated my guts, and his name was Mr. Bishop. So when I needed a foil for Aurora, the Bishops, that's where the name came from. There's nothing like so deep about it. It was just Mr. Bishop hated me, and I was like, I need to name the Bishops. There we go. So that's where it came from.
Isn't it interesting how books are written?
It's amazing what you have up here that just kind of seep out into the paper a little bit. Usually, if you've wronged me, I will find a way to put you in the book and kill you. Sorry. You'll come out. And, as I'm writing volume 3, I have an incident where Morgan will be meeting a character named Mona. And Mona is inspired from a situation I had at work years ago where someone was calling me a derogatory name in another language because I'm half Puerto Rican, and I did not know this was a derogatory name. So I was answering it for a while, not knowing. And so someone else overheard it and was like, why is she calling you that? And I'm like, I don't know. She said it means like pretty or something. And they were like, no, sweetie. They were like, in this language, direct toward Puerto Rican, it means this. And I'm like, it means what? And they were like, don't ever let her call you this. So I confronted the person. But because she was someone older, she was able to get away with it and hide behind that facade of, I'm just a little old lady. I can't help it. I'm set in my ways. And I was like, oh, really?
Well, you were the character in my book.
And I'm like, guess what your name's going to be? Guess what's going to happen to you? So I've kind of written it that Morgan meets a troll in the Vale, and the same thing, she calls her a glimmer. And finally somebody else goes, why are you letting her call? And I'm like, oh no, it means this. And they were like, no. Because you're a Fae hybrid, it does not mean you're full of light. It means this. And she's like, so, Morgan eventually tries to help Mona, and then she realizes Mona needs to have her tongue cut out because she will never learn. And I'm like, so guess what? It comes back around. I tend to work out my problems now through the book and make it cathartic. And that's what I've kind of done to help myself, because I feel like there's got to be a healthier way to deal with all of this and all the voices.
Why not write books, publish them, and that's your therapy.
What happens,
Beautiful.
That's how I have to do it. There's got to be a better way.
Absolutely. I know something about dragon.
Yeah, there's
Came from your little dog.
Came from my dog, Carlos. Los, the chameleon dragon, is my dog, Carlos, my Yorkie, who's my little everything. Both my dogs are. Lady Penelope, the white deer is my Chiweenie Penelope, but Los the dragon is Carlos. And all the dragons, he has a tie now, and he has his own corporate headshot. I wanted to put him in. I knew I wanted to put both my pets in because you want your dogs to live forever. It's just how it is. So this was my way of having them live forever. And since then I've had other people ask to have their dogs put in the books, and I've done that. The novella Fire, Ice, Acid, and Heart, all of the dragons except one are pets of somebody's that they've asked. Callie, the lead dragon, is actually Jen's dog Callie that passed, and that's how that book was inspired. But Los one day didn't want to take a bath. He hates baths. You even say the word bath. If you're like, oh, I'm gonna go take a bath, he's already in his house hiding. So it was time for his, and the minute you take his collar off, you have to like block everything. And I took his collar off, he went running. We couldn't find him 10 minutes. We're looking, and I'm like, where did this dog go? Did he get out? Whatever. He had tipped over a toy bin and hid in, and we couldn't find him. Meanwhile, Penelope's staring right at it like, you idiots. Finally, we find him, and he's staring straight ahead, and I'm looking at him. And I'm like, Lois, I can see you. You're right there. And he's just ETing it. He's not, and I'm like, he blended right in. Didn't even blink. So we had to go in and pick him up, but 10 minutes, he blended in perfect. So that's when he became Los the Chameleon Dragon. And he is Jarbok, King Jarbok of the Dark Phase companion. And he does all the reconnaissance. So he has witnessed everything in the human world. If Jarbok needs information, he goes and gets it, brings it back. And he's just kind of been the comedic foil of the book at times, but he's also been the heart of the book. When certain things have happened, he lets everybody know, maybe this is not what's happening. Maybe this shouldn't go down this way, little things. So yes, I love Los, and people are asking for him constantly. He's getting his own AR game now, where people will be able to adopt Los through Meldiverse. So he's turned into the star of the book.
He's a star.
He is. He's a breakout star. And I have people writing all the time. They're like, is Los getting his own book? And I'm working on a book called Los's Guide to Life. The 10 rules you can learn from Los. And that's come from me just observing Carlos. Because that dog, it doesn't matter what's happening. He's happy. He just, anything can happen, and he just gives you something to learn. So yes, Los.
Does he have his separate Instagram page?
Not yet, I just can't do that.
A quick summary of the books for those who have no idea what you're writing about.
They are angels, virtue angels, who were sent here by the Creator to get the planet ready for his next great experiment, which is humans. While this is happening, the war between the Creator and Lucifer is going on, and that is being fought by the Power Brigade angels. One day in the middle of the war, Lucifer pulls his horde back, and they hear the gates lock. And all of a sudden, no one can go home. During that time, all of their angelic wings begin to decay, and they are stuck here on Earth, knowing they can't go home, but they have to make a life for themselves. So the book then follows these two factions of angels and figuring out how they have to make their own worlds and their own identity. And from there, they figure out when the humans do populate, human worship equals power, and they can tap back into their elemental gifts. And they become what we know as the gods and goddesses throughout history. And they rename themselves the Fae, which means fellow Aegis of Earth, the defenders of Earth, and break off into the set of the Court of Light and the Court of Dark. And so the book shows them figuring out who they are, blending into human society, and then fighting for power, because the Dark Fae decide there's not enough power. And they're still a little bitter because they're not sure why they've been locked out. Each one blames the other one. And then it's kind of a study in point of view, in the sense of, what do you do when you're hurt? Do you either throw yourself into the idea of, I can just push my feelings down and help everybody else, or I can get really mad at one person and decide they're the reason for all my problems and just declare war. And that's kind of what happens. And then we just follow it from the beginning of time up to the plagues of London and everything that happens in between King Jarbok and Queen Aurora, and how they deal with their own emotions. And then whatever happens afterwards, maybe there's a marriage of convenience thrown in there, maybe there's an enemies to lovers issue, but I can't give them a happy ending because that would be way too easy. And we go from there, but it's not told from the first person point of view. It's told from that omniscient. So you get to see everybody's feelings and why they're doing what they're doing, their motivations. And it's a lot of political intrigue.
So is it fair to say that you take imaginary, which are not imaginary characters. You take the situation from your life, you take some history, the understanding of the world. So is it really a fairy tale?
I don't think any writing is fairy tale, to be honest with you. I don't think everybody who says, well, I write fiction, I write nonfiction, whatever it is, I think it's all a mixture of the same, because the themes are the same. Whether you're writing it with horns or not, it's all interpersonal dynamics and how we view it. So I don't believe that anything is truly nonfiction. Yes, it's alternative history. I'm taking alternative history. I go through the Tudors, I go through Queen Mary, to the Plagues of London, all of that stuff, to the Parting of the Red Sea I start at. But it's just how you deal with it. At the end of the day, an argument's an argument about love. An argument's an argument about property. It's just my spin. So I don't know if it's all fantastical. I'm adding a magical element.
Right. But you still do research in
Oh
terms of
gosh, yeah.
history.
Yes, I'm still, when I went through Queen Mary, I had the choice of doing the Tudors. Yes, King Henry VIII makes a small appearance to set up Queen Mary, but I chose not to delve into King Henry or Queen Elizabeth, because I felt like they're done just so much, nobody ever looks at Queen Mary. But I had to sit and look at that time frame, what it was like to live there, what exactly Queen Mary was about, her phantom pregnancies, all that stuff. I had to really get into it. I took a class on Tudor etiquette. How did they really eat? Because you're not going to watch the Tudors and think, that's exactly Jonathan Rhys-Meyers. Yeah, that's King Henry. It's not going to work. So I really dove into exactly and dove into what went on during that time, how they ate. They ate family style. It wasn't always this big long table with the king and the queen. That was very rarely done. It's done only during times of politics, a major celebration. But every day, Queen Mary ate by herself. She ate in the balcony by herself. Everybody else, all her courtiers, ate together. You had to wash your hands before you sat in rose water and let everyone know you were clean. Usually you carried your utensils in a pocket on your hip, and that was a sign of wealth. You put your napkin on your left shoulder, things like that. Those small details, that's what I looked into to make it so you understood you were reading a fiction book, but it wasn't me just pulling stuff out of the air.
Mm-hmm. You're studying history, and then you obviously being fair to history, including certain parts and going with the history line. But what influenced you? I'm gonna choose that over that. I'm gonna concentrate on this character instead of this character. I like that side of personality I'm gonna include in the book, but not that. How you make that choices?
Sometimes it was more who's been written so much about, and I feel like who hasn't been done justice. I said King Henry, we've all heard him. We've heard his story so much. To me, it's like, what else, what new things are you gonna learn?
Mm-hmm. So you prefer discovery?
Yeah, I like to kind of look about it, or somebody who hasn't had their fair share, or they're one-dimensional. You only know this about them. Mm-hmm. Maybe you just know Queen Mary's Bloody Mary. That's it. Okay, well, is there another side to her? Was there something before that maybe you didn't get? Or why did she do that? Why is she known this way? Maybe I can give her another layer, even if it's more of a fantastical layer. Why? Let's kind of delve into that and see. I think that's a little more interesting. Same thing I get into in Forgive Us, the last of the volume. I dive into Rasputin, and I have him as a fae who was sent there because Anastasia is a hybrid. She's one of the first succubus lines. She doesn't know it, but why were the bodies scattered? Why could we never figure out where the Romanovs were buried? So it turns out Rasputin, who's a fae, was sent there to find out if she was a succubus. If she was, they buried the bodies that way, specifically to cause misinformation. So I kind of play with that aspect of it. Same thing with, I get into Princess Diana's death and Grace's, because there's a fae prophecy that's messed up. And they think a succubus has to be a royal bloodline. So they go through history and mess up all of these deaths and cause this misinformation, all this mystery for that reason. Mm-hmm. So I play with those kind of things because personally, I think it's just funny that we're still kind of questioning all of this. So I'm like, all right, well, if you guys are going to sit and question it, let's add something to it. Then let's really go there. If we're going down that hole, let's go down this hole. And let's really cause it to be something fantastical. If we're still debating it, fine, let's go there. Let's really kind of play and make it something fun. And I thought,
so you're kind of challenging historical characters.
Yes, I think it's.
Do you also challenge religious?
Oh boy, yeah, I went there not knowing that I was going to challenge it. I didn't set out to challenge it. When I started Locked Out of Heaven, I just thought it'd be fun to make Fae angels. Angels Fae. I didn't go in there going, watch me shake up the bounds of history and angels and all this, Boy, I'm gonna get the Vatican mad at me. I didn't know I'd get the Vatican mad at me. I didn't plan on any of that. I just thought it was something fun because to me, whenever you read Fae books, they just existed. I thought I'd give an origin story. As a comic book fan, there's always a great origin story. Cool. Well, that was my first mistake. So I made them angels. Didn't think much of it. And so as we were going, I'm like, well, if they're going to be angels, I'm going to have to take some biblical event. Yeah, once again, another mistake.
Why mistake?
I did not realize some people will take that a little too seriously. So
that I would be interested to know.
Yeah, they took it really seriously. But the parts they took seriously, I did not expect. In Locked Out of Heaven, I have a chapter called Empathy for the Devil. Once again, a play on this Rolling Stone Sympathy for the Devil. I like the Stones. So I took a little play and just twisted it. And so in that chapter, Lieutenant Zion and Lieutenant Asa, who are best friends, and the second and third in command for the Court of Dark, are debating the idea that, is Lucifer as bad as we think he is? Because in their eyes, Lucifer pulled his entire demonic horde back. None of them are left on Earth, to where they are abandoned by the Creator. I don't call the Creator God, let's be clear. I never call him God. They just know him as the Creator. So they're saying, as Ace is debating, she's like, well, we're always use the term, their curse word is damn it to Lucifer. And she's like, I don't think we should say that anymore. And so Zion's like, well, why not? She says, well, Lucifer pulled his horde back. There's nobody here. We haven't heard of a demon. We haven't smelt a demon. Nothing. She said, but we, after we served the Shining Kingdom well, are abandoned and we're stuck here. We did a good job. The demons went back to hell and they're fine. We lost our wings. We lost our glory. And we're here to restart our life. So who's really the bad guy? The father of lies or the Creator? We didn't do anything wrong. It's not a bad debate. And she's like, so maybe we don't know everything. What I found is that if the parting of the Red Sea happened, if it was a biblical event, once again, I'm not getting into things, it would have happened through a water spout. So Queen Aurora has a water spout happen. Again, not getting into whether you believe or not, just saying. And so that is how the parting of the Red Sea happened, was through a water spout. She controls air, she creates a water spout. So when the Israelites come upon it, they see a water spout and they're saying, oh, we prayed to God, he created the parting of the Red Sea, yay. It's a Fae battle. So all I'm saying is that biblical events are interpreted by the humans as God, but it's a Fae event. Once again.
So troublemaker.
Yeah, didn't think so. And then Aurora follows the Israelites because she's like, I'm going to get them to change back to the pagan ways. Here we go. And then God speaks to the Israelites. So I'm not saying these things didn't happen. And so I use a quote from the Bible because she's like, they've been wandering. I'm going to show up. I'm going to give them wind. I've got one of my water goddesses waiting. She's going to deliver some rain. We're good. And just as it happens, God shows up, speaks to them, and she's upset because she hears his voice and she's like, it's home. I want to go home. So it's a whole thing, whole emotional aspect. Oh boy. So didn't go over well.
What people have problem with this? What's the conversation?
I was blasphemous. They felt that I was using the Bible to sell a book, which wasn't it. I was making fun of it. It just went way out of control. And I keep laughing because I'm like, you guys haven't even read Kingdom Come. Wait till you get to that. But they poked the bear a little bit.
There's more.
Oh, boy.
And now you're making right even more.
Oh, I went really bad. But like I said, they were so caught up in Locked Out of Heaven because the attitude was I took a biblical event and changed it. But I didn't. I'm still saying it happened, whether you interpret it however, but it's also a fantasy book. I'm not saying this is what happened. But people got very upset with me. I wound up on 2 blasphemy lists. Then they were petitioning the Vatican to have the book banned.
No, wait, seriously.
Seriously. They created a video, tried to go to the Vatican, and I'm like, look, if the Pope wants to call me, we could totally talk about this. I love it.
Did you call?
No, he hasn't called, but I'm waiting for him to call. I'm so waiting.
Another book.
I'm dying for him to call because I'm like, we could totally talk about this.
Yeah.
I will send you a copy for free. I won't even make you buy it on Amazon. But I'm down. So, I mean, he could show up in the Pope Mobile. We'll go for a ride. I'll wear a hat too. We'll match. Great. But no, he's not called. But yes, it got as bad as I started receiving death threats. I received recently, as of last summer, the Guns of God came after me. They started sending me pictures of them holding a gun with dates under it. I had people outside my house at one point while I was in Charlotte.
Because of the book.
Because of the book. Then they started DMing me and threatening me. Then it was, can we please have your home address? We want to send you literature on how to make your relationship with God better. And I started getting upset. And then I realized I can't get upset. So I started replying with, Lucifer has not told me what realm of hell we were living in once we're married. Once he does, I will tell you. But for now, we're registered at Bed Bath & Beyond. Please send towels. And then Bed Bath & Beyond went under. Sorry about that. So, I just laugh about it now. But if they really want to get mad, please read Kingdom Come. There's a whole chapter called The Jesus Factor. I think you'll love it. So, I don't know what to say.
And there are more in the next book.
Oh,
so make sure
we
that
get
the
right
copy.
in. Like I said, Kingdom Come. That's the one. If you want to be mad at me, The Jesus Factor. Pick that one up. We get right into crucifixion. I jump right in. So, I don't know what to say. It's a book. If you want to, the only thing I'm trying to make you do is question things. It was more about, if you want to get into organized religion, go ahead. I don't have a problem. I'm not saying it didn't exist. I'm not saying anything. It's a book. It's just about fantasy. That's it. What you read into it.
Another way of thinking.
I'm just twisting it. It's about point of view.
Exactly.
That's it. I'm not saying the devil's a great guy. I'm not saying the creator's a great guy. This whole thing is read the book and have a release. Look to see if you identify a character that you're like, you know what? I kind of identify with Jarva. I identify with Aurora. Desdemona, she's badass. I kind of like that. Maybe I want to have that little edge. Very cool. Maybe you want to be more like Theodova, who thinks everybody's great. That's it. But blasphemy? Last time I checked, this was not the time of blasphemy or scarlet letters or anything like that. Maybe we're going backwards. But, I've had situations. A friend of mine, C.R. Rice, who I've mentioned, she writes an amazing dystopian series, The Realm, and she's had people being like, yeah, you're anti-government. And she's like, whoa. She's like, no. I'm reading a book about a girl who has a rebellion against the guy who's taking all the magic away. And they're like, so about the government. And she's like, no. She's like, it's no. And at this point I've told her, I'm like, you have to just hit it head on. Make a joke about it because people will read what they want into anything you write.
Exactly.
And that's the power of the pen.
Mm-hmm.
Do what you gotta do.
Any emotion is better than no emotion.
Don't tell the pharmaceutical companies who do antidepressants that. But yes.
So just by that, the book is success.
I believe so. I think anytime you can invoke an emotion, you've made a connection. Good, bad, or indifferent, you've made a connection. So if I can get you to think, then I've done my job.
Let's talk about how we met.
Oh, okay. Blush.
Okay, so tell me what happened. And why?
Okay.
Why did you came?
I came because at first I was scouted for Playboy, and I didn't want to not own my pictures. So I came to see the best in nude photography, and I came to see you to take the test shots. And so we did our nude shoot, and I was extremely nervous, but you helped me get over that, and we did our shoot. I did not get chosen. They found out my age. But that's okay, seriously. Because I have beautiful pictures, and it gave me a tremendous amount of confidence, and that was huge, doing that, because I didn't think I could do it, and I actually felt more comfortable doing the nudes than I did with the clothes.
Why is that?
The clothes, I felt, when we did the lingerie, at least the white outfit, I remember, I felt like I was dressing up. I felt like I would never wear this. And then when you were like, okay, let's just do it, I felt like, okay, this I could do. This was much more natural versus
But you know what's interesting? You do cosplay.
Because I have a mask and I have makeup and I'm being a character.
Uh-huh.
That I could do. I know what Harley Quinn is like. I know what Catwoman's like. I know Wonder Woman. I know Firestar. Those, I know the poses. There's always a set look. You look at the panels and you're like, okay, she stands like
so
this.
You put the costume and you know exactly
I
how
know
to
what I'm
behave,
doing.
what
Yes.
you do exactly, what your voice will gonna be.
I
what
know
you're
everything.
Gonna say. Mm-hmm. And here,
I can do. When I put lingerie on, I'm like, oh, I have to be sexy. And then it's like, what's me sexy? It's like, it becomes very, you get that self-conscious to whereas when there's no clothes on, there's nowhere to hide. It's just, well, here I am. Like, here we go. There was nothing. And there was more credit given to you in the sense of, you're gonna put your body here, we're gonna do this. And then it was like, okay. There was no accoutrement to like have to do anything. It was just, here you are. Okay, what are we gonna do? And when we discussed also prior, I told you, hey, I've got resting bitch face. And you were like, all right, that's fine. We know how to work that. Any problem I had, you hit head on. There was no, oh, we gotta fix, okay. It was just, no problem, I've got an answer for it. So that was a huge help. And that kind of got me over the little hump.
When you're naked, like, there is not much to do.
No, that's just
it's actually a super relaxing experience.
It's just put your hands above your head. Okay, where else you gonna go?
I'm doing more work than you are doing.
I was more sore. Well, arching the back. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't expect to feel the sense of empowerment that I did. Like, wow, I did that. That's not something I ever thought I would do. There was a little bit of a high. Like, I would do it again. Like, yeah, I could go another hour. Cool. I could do it. I wanted to do one outside, which I was very surprised of having that. I would do this outside. Yeah, I could rock that. Mm-hmm. I had more ideas for them afterwards. I didn't think I would. I thought I'd be more like, get me my clothes ASAP and I'm gonna slink out. I was more like, yeah, I just did it. Heck yeah. That I was kind of surprised at. And the fact that I wanted to tell more people I did it. I thought I'd be more like, okay, I just did it.
Mm-hmm. Why there was a need to tell?
Because I was proud. I was really proud. I'm like, yeah, I rocked that out. Cool. I was leading up to it. I was very much of, don't say anything. There was also the stigma that it was Playboy and, don't tell anybody because, and I was really mad when I didn't get it because I was like, damn, those were good pictures. Like, how did I not? So there was, that sense of pride. The shame was gone. There was no shame anymore. Leading up to it, there was some, should I be doing this? Then there was the age factor. Like, I'm 40, I'm too old. Kind of always getting over that. And
this is like completely insane.
Yeah, there was a lot of, yes, like, this is a young woman's game. Like, yes, this is insane. What am I doing? The shame, all of it. It was all matched up.
I mean, thinking like this.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Because you're taught the ageism factor.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of thinking, why am I so ashamed to do it? Like, why am I worried about my age? But now, as I've gotten older, that is piled on. And then you're like, I was worried about it at 40, and now look at me. How was I thinking? Like, why was I so worried about it? So it's a little bit of all of it. But now I'm like,
I was worried about that. Maybe I should not worry about now and in the future.
Yes.
Please, who cares?
Yes.
We did nude photo shoot, we did boudoir photo shoot. But then a few years later, you came back.
Because I had written the books, and Fae magazine is in England, in the UK, and the Fae are very big there. The whole culture is big. They have Fae festivals and everything. Karen Kay is known as the godmother of the Fae. She's everything for the Fae. So she had asked me about being in their magazine, but she said, I need a photographer. She's like, I'm not bringing you here. So I said, I've got somebody. Hold that thought. So the idea was to do shoots of all the characters in the book. So I said, okay. And she said, I want the mermaid, I want the queen, and I want the queen's bodyguard. So that would be Lady Serena, Queen Aurora, and Desdemona. The original idea was to have my friend Jen, who inspired Lady Serena, come up, but because of COVID, she couldn't travel. So then it was, do all of them yourself. Okay. So the only person I would choose and I would trust would be you.
Why?
So, because you're the best. To be honest, you're the best. You're the only person I would trust to shoot with. And you're the only one who can, to be honest, bring me out of my shell enough to do this. I had chemistry with you, you understood, so there was just no one else. And then I had to come up with concepts. I knew you could help me with that, and I knew we could gel. So that was part of it, and then...
That was so much fun, oh my God.
Oh, we had a great time.
Oh, so much fun.
It was cold in Untermeyer.
Well, of course.
It was the one day that, like, in April, that they were like, we're gonna give you 20-mile-per-hour winds, and that's cool though, it'll be great.
That's good for your skin.
Oh yeah, my skin was goosebumpy and pores were shrunk down. So we shot Queen Aurora first in Untermeyer Park. We brought in a huge golden throne, and we shot in a very tight blue corset and very high hair and a crown, and shot all over Untermeyer Park until I was chattering because it was so cold. But it came out beautiful. It really did. And then we shot, we actually have video of that shoot. Then we shot Desdemona next.
Desdemona, on the beautiful red.
On the Red Bridge. And then we shot Lady Serena. And that was the opposite of Queen Aurora because it was 95 degrees and the pasties melted off. So,
but you were close to the water, so
yes, it was. I was right there.
There was a dream of.
It was a dream of getting
down.
in, but we didn't quite get in, so we were right there. But yes, it was so hot the pasties melted off. So we just threw a lot of sand and glitter, and we shot that. So then we had those three. We did not know they were going to be on the covers at the time. We just shot them for the magazine. Little did we know what they would become. Then we did the cosplay shoot here, and we did Catwoman and Black Canary, just because my publicist said, marketing people had said we need cosplay stuff, so we did those. And then I switched publisher, and when I switched to Four Horsemen, they were looking at my PR folder and saw Lady Serena, and that's when they said, what is this? And I'm like, oh, it's gonna go to Fae magazine, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, yeah, give us 24 hours. And then they came with the mock-ups. And that's when I was like, what? And they were like, so we're gonna put you on the covers, and this is what's going to happen from now on. So they used, from those photo shoots, they used, for Locked Out of Heaven was Lady Serena, for Thine Eyes was Untermeyer and Aurora, and then Desdemona was From the Ashes, but we had nothing for Kingdom Come. And so they said, well, we need it for that. So I came back, and then we shot with George.
This time we shot in the studio.
Yes, Kingdom Come we shot in the studio, and we did that. And that was those 4 covers that we did. So I'm hoping if we can get everything together for Succubus and they make a decision that maybe we could do something again, or at least do promo shots. And I also need a new headshot now because my old one is too old now. But so I need more stuff. This is the bottom line. I'll be back for more.
I'm here.
So we'll do more, and I'm trying to get Patient X to make the official appearance as Agent Graham.
That'd be interesting.
So you see what I'm saying there, honey. I'm trying to get him to agree to at least a Graham and Morgan shot. Just one. Just need one.
It's easy. It's not that difficult.
Yeah, he's shy, but I keep saying, if I just put your back to the camera, you just have to look over your shoulder. That's all I'm looking for.
There's nothing serious going on here.
He's very shy. He doesn't want everybody to know, but there's ways to shoot it.
Exactly.
There's ways to do it. He just has to, you'll be comfortable, it'll be fine.
Oh, absolutely.
Trying to get him to just ease into it, but I'd like one more shoot, at least a publicity shot like that, and have him make his official debut as Agent Graham and let the world know. So we still have one.
He's the reason.
That's what I keep saying. I keep saying that this is like my love letter to him is just, but you know how guys are. I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Tell me about all cosplay in your life.
Official description is an expression of your fandom of whatever that might be, whether it's superhero, anime, whatever it is. You dress up as the character you want. So let's say you're a fan of Wonder Woman. You might do a steampunk version of it, or you might do the Linda Carter version. It's your version and how you embody the character and see it. So you might go to a convention that way, you do a photo shoot, whatever it is.
So let's go into psychology of this. Why would people decide to do that?
You could say that it's wearing a mask or it's wearing a costume, losing yourself.
Or opening yourself.
Exactly, it's the freedom, it's the expression. For me, I can say that when I get to be, great. Dressing as Wonder Woman is great. You can stand with your hands on your hips and power pose and think that you embody everything that's Wonder Woman and I'm a great person.
Especially when you're martial artist.
Yeah, exactly. I'm powerful, I'm great. Or you can dress up like Harley and run around and kiss guys on the cheek and every guy can worship you because everybody wants Harley. And you can get to act out in ways that you could never act in your daily life. It is freeing. I met a gentleman who was an orthopedic surgeon. He was dressed as Plastic Man. And that weekend is the one weekend he does not, no beeper, no nothing. And he spends a lot of money perfecting this, and he looked like Plastic Man, facial, everything. And he goes, this is my weekend, I'm not a doctor. He's like, I don't care what anybody says. He's like, nobody's asking me for meds, nobody's asking me for advice. He's like, leave me alone. And he's like, I take my money and I spend it on all the comic book crap that I can't spend it during the year. He's like, I act as goofy as I want and I'm not a doctor.
So why it is important for people?
I think it's
to find a way of expression and to be free.
I think that's what it is. It's more, we're wound up so tight that it's that one time that you can just let loose and it's not hurting anybody. It's just a decompression. And a lot of cosplayers that I've talked to have said that. It's decompression. It's a way to connect. Because the cosplay community is very close-knit. Even if we don't see each other normally, if we're not going out and having drinks or, going to parties together, when we meet, we're all there to support. The cosplay community is very close. We're very protective of each other. There's never, at least at New York Comic Con, it's not rude. A lot of times you'll see guys going for the first time in drag, or you'll see the transgender community coming out. Somebody always makes an effort to go over and say how nice they look, or they're doing something really well for the first time. It's a very accepting community. So I think that's where it's very important, is that expression. And there's no age. You don't age out of cosplaying. You can do it at any age because there's always a superhero character or an anime that's there. There's always a mask to wear.
Shall we say it's good for your mental life?
I think it's good for your mental health. I believe it is. And there's an Instagram handle, cosplay over 40, that specifically caters to that so you don't feel left out.
Right.
And I think that's a really important thing. And when you think about it, a lot of these characters have been around for over 80 years. So technically Superman's 80, you know. We're all there, and it's all encompassing. So I think it's really important.
So you've been writing fairy tales with some history, with some politics, with some religion.
Mm-hmm.
How about more close to human love stories, sex lives?
Volume 2, Birth of a Succubus, is the first time I actually get into it. The Fae call sex aura blending. For the Fae, aura blending, because the Fae don't fall in love with, they say we don't fall in love with the package, we fall in love with the energy. So they don't care.
Isn't it the best way? Oh my God.
That's kind of how they see it. They don't care about your gender.
Let's teach humans that.
That's what I'm trying to do with this. That by calling it that's what I'm trying to do. So the first time I actually get into a sex talk is in From the Ashes, because King Jarbok is a virgin, which everybody also found so controversial that a dark Fae king was a virgin, because in most Fae books he's like pillaging and raping, and mine is a virgin. He's never aura blended. So Zion has to give him the talk, which is the most awkward like father-son talk ever. And he's kind of like, okay, have you aura blended? And he's like, I've slain demons and armies. And he's like, no. Have you aura blended? And he's like, fine, you can explain it. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna put this in terms you'll understand. He's like, let's go battle terms. And he's like, fine. And he's like, so first you need to make sure that she's going to be amenable. He's like, you don't go right for her drawbridge. He's like, so you wanna make some time in the courtyard. And he's like, fine. He's like, so you may want to use oral negotiations. And he's like, to soften her up. Don't spend too much time in the mountainous regions. And meanwhile, Los is looking at him like, you getting this? Like, you know. And he's like, make sure, you know, your sword is of the right hardened steel before you unsheath it. And he's still like, okay. He's like, and then it's kind of like a human jousting tournament. He's like, it's not a one-shot deal. He's like, you're gonna have to go forward and back a couple times until she cries out in victory. Are we good? And he's like, and he's just sitting there staring at him horrified. And he's like, what? And he's like, high five, good. Because I couldn't write the sex scene. I was so like, how do I do this? Because I'm trying to make aura blending. It's about being coded in memories. So when the Fae get together, they exchange memories, and it's all about energy. They don't care about what you look like. It's just if your energies match. When I got to Birth of a Succubus, now I'm like, well, now they're human. That's not gonna work so well, because Agent Graham and Morgan, who is a succubus, have to have sex. And I have to do a succubus feeding, because it's a succubus, I can't leave out sex. So I'm like, okay, here we go. We're gonna do this. So I stared at this page, and I'm like, here it is. And it was blank. And I'm like, okay. And I sat there staring at this page for a month going, okay, how do I want to write this? I don't want to use certain terminology because that gets you moved to the romance section. If you use certain genitalia, you automatically get moved to romance. So I'm sitting there going, I can't use that word, I can't use that word.
Wow, that's trick.
Yeah, so I'm going, okay. And the first editor who read this, I will not mention her name, hated the book, hated the series. Told me I should burn it, start all over. I used the term flower for certain female parts. She said, women don't like that. You can't use that. They hate it. Okay. I think I wound up calling it her star or something. I used something else. Cleet was like, it works great.
She's in the book, obviously.
Oh, she's going in next. Yeah. No, she's going in and she's getting killed off too. So I wound up writing their sex scene and literally kept going, oh my God, my father's gonna read this. When they finally do sleep together, I wound up making it very acrobatic because I took it from me. Like, how I would want to, do things. So I actually borrowed my patient at one point, and I said, because Clark is 6'5", and so I said, I need you to do me a favor. And he's like, what? I said, I need you to come over. And because it was when he was up here, he's like, what? I said, I know this. I said, I already cleared with my husband. I need you to come over. I need you to grab a pair of sweatpants and come here. And he's like, what am I doing? It's just don't ask questions. And he's like, okay. I said, I need you to lay down. Just put the sweatpants on. He goes, okay. I said, you got boxers on? He goes, yeah. Great. I'm going to try to take your pants off in a split. And he went, whoa, whoa, whoa. He goes, we're crossing some lines here. I said, I already told my husband what I'm doing. I said, I don't know if our height will work. And he's like, okay. I said, I am going to attempt to do this, because if this works, it's going to be the greatest sex scene ever. And if it doesn't work, I'm back to the drawing board. But I said, I think if I can get over this, I can write this scene. I pulled so many muscles trying this, and he's laughing. And I'm like, I gotta get my foot, hold on, it's cramping. I was like, I gotta cramp. And he's hysterical. It was just one of those, and I'm like, okay, so from a standing split, my leg's this way, and he's going, and then I'm leaning over, I'm like, hold on, I gotta write this down, hold on. I'm like, hand me the pen. And he's reaching this way. He's like, it's really romantic, Danny. It's really romantic, it's great, it's going so good. And I'm like, okay, so it won't work with the left leg. And he's like, how about he starts to take them off and she says stop. I go, but they can only be mid-hip when it. And he's like, is this really what authors do? I'm like, apparently. So I get like the split halfway, and I'm going, it's gotta be an American split. Hold on. Stop, start all over, pull up. This took us 2 hours. And then finally I go, now I'm gonna reach back. And then I'm like, oh, cramp, hold on. I was like, get the ice pack. And he's just like, he's like, it's really hot. Wow, this will just knock the socks off anybody. I'm like, when I get this is gonna be great. He's like, okay. And finally I got the move. And then I whipped him open and I went, ta-da! And he goes, she's not gonna say ta-da in the book, is she? He's like, 'cause that kind of kills the moment. He goes, do it again. So we practiced, and finally I got it, and I like flipped it. At one point, like I slapped him in the eye with the pants, and he's like, I can't see. He's like, did you do it? He's like, my eyes are watering. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know where the pants went. And he's like, this is really hot. This is just amazing, Danny. So we just worked it out. I finally got the pants off, and he's sitting there. He goes, if your husband came home right now, he said, what would you say? Research. Research. He goes, thank God. He's like, this took us as long as it did. He goes, and you abused me this way. He goes, and then he looks down, he goes, because there is nothing going on down there right now. He's like, nothing at all. He's like, this is so, I'm like, but it worked. So when I sent it to Cleet, finally, I was like, what do you think? He's like, he wrote back, he goes, fucking hot. He's like, but do you know if this will work? I'm like, yes, it will. And I literally put in capital letters, it will. Done. And he's like, do I even want it? I went, no, you don't want to ask. You don't want to ask him. When I spoke to my husband one day, he goes, what happened? I'm like, I figured it out. And that's all you need to know. And he's like, if you were any other woman, there would be so many questions. He goes, but being that it's you, I don't even have a question. He's like, there's nothing here to worry about. I went, no, there's not, because I figured it out. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm soaking in Epsom salt, because everything hurts on me right now, but it's done. And then from there, the rest of it kind of flowed, and I was good. But every now and then I'm still like, I hope I wrote that right. Like, I hope it translates the way I think it will. But yeah, no, sex scenes that was more difficult than writing the interpersonal dynamic between Clark and Morgan and them falling in love.
Why it's difficult? Because of the restrictions that you have writing a book?
No, I think I was prudish. I think it was more prudish on my part, because I didn't want it to be gratuitous, and I also wanted it to be about the two of them, and it being that these two characters were actually falling in love, and it not being just about the sex. I wanted them to have one night and then get ripped away. So you cheer for them to have another moment, because it's set up so differently. In the beginning of the book, he's so focused on bringing her in and she's just a target that that's all he sees. That by the time they get together, he's so torn that I couldn't give them another moment. Or else he's then just a source of food and energy. So one moment was all I could give. And it took a lot out of me.
Source of food and energy. I like it.
Yeah, that's all he, if I give him more, then it devalues him too. So I wanted her to be devalued in the beginning and then them have it, because he then betrays her and throws her into containment. So they have to have this to then work back toward each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was, that one night was it. So they could have their Cinderella ending for a second before the clock strikes 12 and the whole thing gets blown apart.
What are you trying to accomplish with your books? For you and for them?
For me, besides world domination, I think for me, I just want to be able to put out good quality work, and eventually you want the dream. You want to be able to make a living that you can sustain and create a world that I can be proud of and a set of work that I can be proud of. For them, for my readers, it's still the same quality and a place that they can escape. I want them to be able to pick up a book and think, oh great, the next one came out, but I still want to go back and read the last one. Or I want to revisit and continue to revisit. I have some readers that go back and continuously listen to Locked Out of Heaven. It's on repeat. And they'll take pictures of the badges on Audible to say that they're a repeat listener. And it's their 14th time listening, and they take pictures and show them to me. I think that warms my heart. Or I have one reader who passed away, and she wanted to be a fae. That's all she wanted. She wrote me in hospice and said, "This is my last wish, is to be a fae in your book." And so I've now become friends with the family. So every time a new book gets sent, I send it to them. Forgive Us was where her fae persona made its debut. So I sent the family the book, and now her fae will be in the Heart of War. So I think moments like that for my readers, where they are so invested, they actually want to be in this world and will write me and say, can I be a fae? Or I can't wait to meet you. Something like that. That's all I want.
So you're giving people hope.
Yeah, I think that's
playground.
That's really cool, to give them a place where they're like, at the end of my day, I want to go back to the Vale. That's
like cosplay.
Yeah, if they want to cosplay as my characters, all the better. Please, I would love to see that. I would love to eventually do a calendar with cosplayers as my characters.
That's a great idea.
Something like that. That would be awesome. And then I want the Fae to just take over the world. World domination. Ride on the back of a dragon and see what happens.
And we will see.
Yes, we will.
Thank you.
You got it.
Awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.